Hello everyone, welcome to Print TV. This edition I believe is going to be explosive because my guest today is a perfect gentleman, a print lover, a print maker, and someone that strikes me as a very principled man. I mean, I've dealt with him on several occasions and he's so forthright. And our topic today is how to start printing business with limited funds. We know that a few people are out there who think printing is extremely capital intensive, and true so, it is capital intensive. But we have Mr. Ayinla here who started printing with limited funds.
Okay, so do we say limited fund? I think we should say zero kobo. Because I started with 0 naira, I think anybody can start. It depends on how you enter the industry and where you pick it from. Basically, pick a sector, start from somewhere that is interesting to you, that you have interest in, and then you need to find the easy way to go around it. Basically, my design skill was the most important thing for start.
So without money, if you have a skill, it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I hear that. And I read somewhere that true entrepreneurs, after all the dreaming and all the passion and all the thinking and all the dreaming, you have to start doing something. You have to put some wheels on the feet of those vehicles to drive it. Otherwise, you remain a dreamer.
Exactly.
And was it not Tony Zappo that said that chase the vision, not the money, and the money will end up following you. So it's all about the vision, it's all about the passion, it's all about what you feel you can do and develop yourself to the level where when the opportunity comes knocking, you can be called upon to do the job. Thank you so much for that. I think what I learned from that is that you can start with zero kobo. So what else have you learned over the years? I think let's talk about your design skill and...
Okay, so basically, I feel that's for anybody that is starting out a business today. I've seen people start out a business that they don't have any expertise in. So from point A to point B, you have a case where they don't really have, aside the money, maybe the investment they've made in the business. If your designer does not show up today, that means that you can't do anything. If your operator do not show up today, that means that you are rendered useless. So I think it's very critical, particularly the soft skills. A design skill is a soft skill. It's important today majorly because of all the tech thing that we're going into now. Anybody that is going into business would have to ensure that there is a particular skill that you can contribute to that particular industry. You don't want a situation where, if for example you run a garment factory and your tailors don't show up, you can't possibly find a solution around getting a particular thing done. I'm not saying go and become a tailor, for example. No. Hire tailors. But what happens if somebody within your chain of business pulls out or is not available? Are you not going to be rendered helpless? Do you understand? So it's very good. I think it's very critical that you are skilled. Take for example, in screen printing, which is one of the areas of our own business today, there are times when I know that we can achieve something, but the young men at the press are saying, no sir, let's do it this way. But because because I have experience, for example, I didn't even mention. Okay, so when I had known that I was going to become a printmaker, the first thing I did was actually to go to somewhere in Lawansin Surulere.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to remember the name of that man. I can't remember again, but he was one of the major screen printers in Lagos at that time. I had to go there and learn screen printing. I mean, after all my electrical degree and the NYSC discharge certificate, I went to a factory a screen printing factory. If you come in, you won't even know that I have a degree because I was dressed like them in, the usual dirty, the way we look within the sometimes the way we look in our own production factory. Although it's not even good, because I've seen overseas, it's not like they look like that. But maybe in Nigeria, we just feel that okay, just wear one raggy baggy pants and one sleeveless t-shirt and you'll be fine. But anyway, that was what I did. So I needed to know the chain of okay. So after I've designed, there is something called separation, and then there is something called exposing. There is something called mesh. There is something called retarder. There is something called squeegee. There is something. I made sure that since I knew that I was going into garment, 2000 and that was between 2010 and 2011. Babalola Street on Surulere. I went there and I learned screen printing.
Interesting. So you've been an apprentice.
Yeah. So I was an apprentice. Fantastic. That's the word. I was an apprentice. That was exactly the word to use. So
how long did you crochet for?
I think it was about 3 months there, because it was still an executive class, so to say.
Right.
You understand? They were not going to treat me like the school leaver or someone who had not been to school. So
no, but I hear you. Your graphics arts knowledge gave you an advantage.
Yes, sir.
In this part that graphic artists are not appreciated. Okay. So what was the differentiating factor for you? How did you create a niche out of what you knew how to do?
Okay, so I think that for me, what was important for me was because of what I was doing. I was becoming a production person, and I didn't want to have a limitation between my design to production. You have people who are in production who would run into problem in production. There are things that I can see in design that I know that when we go to production, this would not work.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to solve that problem from design because I'm a production person. And then sometimes that there's a cheaper way to do it if you do it this way. If I design this way, take for example, if I'm to use a shade of blue in design and I know that it will be screen printed, and I know that this shade of blue, for example, would need us adding magenta to cyan to. Okay, let me tell you a very common example. The one that we see often, particularly in offset printing. A designer will use 4-color black, a black with cyan of about 70%, magenta of about 20 or 30%, yellow of about 80%, and then maybe 90% black, because he wants his black to be very rich on his screen. But if you're printing that as a tiny text in offset, you know that on the press it may be very difficult to register perfectly, taking into consideration the limitation of printing within our own environment.
Yes.
You understand? So because I'm a designer, I won't do that. What I need is black, and I know that if they print the job well and the density is right, they will achieve the shade or the shade or hue of the black that I want. I would of course not add cyan, yellow, and magenta to my black because I know that it is all I need is 100 black, and it will come out looking good. I can even, instead of even now planning a job to be on direct imaging press like we do, I can easily go to offset and achieve something beautiful without all of those troubles. So those are the things that I have been able to use my design to do in production. I'm able to see the limitation of production and say, no, don't design this way, because you know that by the time you want to print it, you will have this problem.
Outside the camera, you were discussing with me about how to have a niche.
Okay.
And you said to me that it's important to start with a niche. I would like you to tell our viewers what you mean by starting with a niche.
Okay, so this is it. Like I said earlier, print business is very wide and capital intensive. If you would go into what print is, it is very, very capital intensive. So how do you break into that industry? The best way to break into that industry is to find a sector and then play within that sector first. So so we have garments decoration, textile and garment decoration, we have offset printing, we have flexographic, we have outdoor, So at least those are like three. There's 3D. That makes like five now. So you have, and then there are other sectors, within that same industry. I've just given you like five examples of different branches within the print industry. Now, if I call myself a printer, someone outside will think that I know everything and that I do everything. Sincerely, while you may know and you may do everything, there is no way you would be able to succeed fast. There is no way you'll be able to harness your potentials if you are trying to have you're trying to play in all at once. Particularly with the issue of investment in equipment and knowledge. So the best that I have seen around often is for you to find the niche where you want to play, and you can start there and develop others. In fact, I've seen people who started in a particular niche and have moved on to something else. I know people who started in offset and they are no longer doing offset again. They are now in large format and outdoor. I know people who started in various areas. So it's basically like that. One other beauty about it is that when people know that you play more within a niche, they see you more as a professional. It's like a doctor. When I go to a specialist, I will definitely pay more consulting a specialist than a generalist. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Take for example, if you go to everyday regular hospital and they now refer you to a specialist hospital, you are sure that when you get to the specialist hospital, you'll be paying far more than you are possibly paid seeing a generalist. So that's exactly the way it works in print. People will come to trust you more. The clients, because they know that this person knows this thing and that's where it works. Not like you can't have investment and interest in other sectors within the print industry, but start from somewhere, particularly because of the fact that the capital required to invest in what we really call print is high.
Yeah, I see two challenges actually. One is the fact that, as I always say, printing is very technical.
It is. Yeah.
So you need to learn, you need to relearn, and you need to learn and get over the learning curve. Then you learn yourself into profitability.
Fantastic.
But the second barrier is the fact that you said printing is very capital intensive. But remember, today it's about starting with zero kobo. So, so today printing is not capital intensive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much for that. What benefit did you, as an entrepreneur, derive from carving out a niche for yourself?
The benefits number one is trust. So when people know that XYZ does this, in fact, once your name is mentioned, once someone is looking for that particular solution, the chances of your name being called out is very high.
Right.
Because, they will say, you want to do this, go to XYZ place, go to XYZ person, because that is what they do as, that is what their line of business is really. So it's
specialization.
That specialization, exactly.
Differentiation. Distinctiveness.
Exactly.
You have a strong point.
Exactly.
You have a force.
Yeah.
You have expertise.
Exactly.
You have that unique thing. You have that unique thing that they need they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I understand you. I get your point. So we need to create a niche, even when we don't have the money. This is what I want to do, and this is what I want to achieve, and you go for it and begin to build on the dream. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so
So the
much.
number 4 point here is to find reliable partners.
Fantastic. So let me just give you this one as a story. I'd won what I'll call my first contract. Yes, that's the word to use. In 2008, late 2008, about almost $500,000 naira. Then I decided to make more money for myself. I had people who were printing before. So don't forget that I said when I started, I was not printing. All I do is I know where to get the shirts and I know who to give it to print. All I do is the design. Now, I had people who were printing for me, but someone said, what I'm doing at 50 naira she can do it for 20 naira. And I was doing a large volume. I did the calculation. 30 naira multiplied by XYZ was a lot of money that I was going to save. I wasn't even going to, the money that I was going to save was much more than what I was going to spend. So I fell for it. That was a huge error and a huge mistake. My saving grace was the fact that the client collected the job. At that time, they had no option again. But here is it. It won't work for everyone like that. I had an error. I was able to fix it because my client collected the job. For some people, the client would not collect the job and it would be a major error. So your first, one of the most important things is when you're starting out in print, is that whoever is your partner that is delivering quality service for you, don't be greedy to leave them. Stay with them. Learn your role. You can begin to look for other people who are probably cheaper, everybody want to save money, but you don't take your major projects to a cheap place. More than often, at every point in time in life, they mess you up. I'm not even talking about print. I'm talking about the general life scenarios. So you have a tailor that used to sew well for you, but because he charges you 20,000 and another guy comes and says, "Oh, God, don't worry, I'll do it for 15,000." So you pack 3 garments and you gave him. By the time you come to collect it, the guy has messed up your fabrics. So you don't become penny wise and then pound foolish. Yeah. So it was a major lesson point for me. I was stressed. It wasn't only that I wanted to save money. It wasn't only that they did a terrible job. They also did not deliver to time. I was under pressure. Now let me tell you what happened. This project came in all the way from Jos in Plateau State. The job was meant to leave Lagos on Friday. On Sunday afternoon, when I finally got the job, terrible print. We meant to use plastisol ink. They went to use water-based ink. It was not even a good print. And then without being dried, we packed everything together, threw it into the sack. I packed my job. I ran to Jibowu. I was not meant to go to Jos. I was meant to ship that item. But because of the challenge that they have put me through, the calls and all of that, I had to board a night bus to leave Lagos. I couldn't even find a bus going to Jos. I got to Abuja. So I went to Abuja first. The next morning, then picked another, chartered a taxi, and then went to Jos to deliver the project. It was a very torturous experience. I can never in my life forget that experience. Now, let me now tell you the worst part of it. The worst part of it was that the client was on the outskirts of Jos. And because of the crisis in Jos would be locked down by maybe by 6 or 7. There was coffee, around that time in Jos. I had to leave that night. I didn't get a vehicle out of Jos. Eventually, I got this luxurious buses, transit buses. I won't call it luxurious. There's nothing luxurious about those buses. And I had to stand on my feet because I couldn't get a seat. I had to stand inside the luxurious. I won't call it luxurious again. Sorry for the word luxurious. I had to stand inside this transit bus for almost about 4 states. From Plateau State to, I think we went through Kogi, Benue, then they went to Enugu for us to return. I left from Lagos and then I was returning back to Anambra. I was still serving them, by the way. But that was my experience. I wasn't able to get a seat until we were probably at Enugu or somewhere.
All for the love of print.
All for the love of print. Of course, yeah, for the love of print. But that was what, using a terrible partner. In this instance, I had reliable partners. But I left my reliable partners. My greediness came to play. And then I paid for it. Of course, I also lost the clients. Do you understand? So I didn't get a repeat business from them that I should have gotten. So it's all entangled. Find reliable partners, and when you get them, people who are competent, they know this job. They can do it. They will deliver. But they've told you that they will do it for 300 naira. And then someone is saying, I will do it for 100 naira. I'll do it for 150. Someone who you have been working with before to deliver 300 naira job and has been doing it perfectly. But because you wanted to make more money, you want to make more money rather, sorry. then you now take that project and then go give it to someone else who
We get the story. As you simply
I was
cannot-
messed up. It's a pain. It's a pain that I will never forget. I've never forgotten it.
You
It's
know,
been
we
12
get, we
years.
get your story.
Thank
so
you, sir.
As we simply cannot do everything in printing, partnership and collaboration are always
Very
key.
Very
The Oyinbos understand this, and so does nature. The plants breathe out oxygen for us to breathe in. We need to begin to populate the ecosystem of printing and make sure that we grow the entire value chain of printing.